What if I told you Bandai Namco might be the most underrated RPG powerhouse of all time? Yeah, while everyone's busy praising Square Enix or Atlas, Bandai's been quietly dropping bangers that reshaped the genre. From hidden gems to legendary franchises, today's video is your backstage pass to some of the best RPGs you've probably never played, or just forgot how awesome they really are. If you're a fan of deep stories, unforgettable characters, and combat systems that actually make you think, buckle up. Because once you see what Bandai Namco's been cooking, you'll never look at them the same way again. If you've never played Scarlet Nexus, you're seriously missing out. This game takes the whole psychic warrior in a futuristic apocalypse idea and runs wild with it. You're dropped into this intense sci-fi world where brain powers aren't just flashy, they're your main weapon. And instead of giving you just one path, the game lets you choose between two protagonists, each with their own story, motivations, and twists. It's basically two games in one, and both sides hit hard. What really makes Scarlet Nexus stand out is how it treats combat like a high-speed chess match. You're not swinging swords or shooting guns, you're ripping chunks of concrete out of the ground and slamming them into monsters with your mind. Toss in a slick combo system and some seriously satisfying enemy encounters, and it feels more like an anime fight scene than a typical RPG battle. And yeah, it's from the same devs who made Tales of, so you know the action is tight. But here's where it gets even better, the Brainlink system. You can tap into your teammates' powers mid-fight, borrowing abilities like teleporting across the battlefield or setting your attacks on fire. It turns every fight into this fast-paced puzzle where timing and strategy matter. Then there's Brain Drive, a kind of supercharged mode that kicks in during combat, boosting your speed and damage and just letting you go off. It's chaotic in the best way. Scarlet Nexus might not have made waves when it dropped, but honestly, that just means it's one of those underrated gems waiting to be discovered. If you're into fast, flashy combat, a killer sci-fi setting, and a story that actually makes you think, this one deserves a spot on your playlist.
It's down. Let's finish it.
Let's do this! Now die!
Nice drop. That went well. We should be able to take them on efficiently if we keep it up.
Hunting beast!
Let's be real. If you grew up loving RPGs, there's a good chance this game left a mark on you. Tales of Symphonia didn't just show up. It came in swinging and rewrote the rules for what a story-driven RPG could be. Back on the GameCube, it blew people's minds. The visuals were bold, the battles were fast, and the story way deeper than most were expecting. You're not just tagging along with some hero saving the world. You're diving into a messy, emotional ride where every choice feels heavy, and the line between right and wrong keeps getting blurrier. But what made it really stand out back then? That battle system with real-time, combo-heavy, and somehow co-op. Yeah, you could actually play battles with your friends. For a game like this, that was wild. Not to mention, the characters weren't just anime stereotypes, they had real arcs, real growth, and real stakes. And let's not ignore the style. The cel-shaded art gave it a timeless look, and those cutscenes still hit hard today. Even after all these years, the remastered versions keep this classic alive on modern systems. And honestly, it still holds up better than most.
You ready?
Now move on!
Demonic circle! Heavy right! Demon Fang! Demonic circle! Heavy right!
Magna Carta 2 is one of those RPGs people rarely talk about, but honestly, it deserves way more love. Dropped quietly on the Xbox 360, this South Korean title flew under the radar for most folks, even though it delivered something way more interesting than your average RPG. The game throws you into a gritty world full of war, betrayal, and messy politics. But what really pulls you in are the characters. Every relationship is layered, every decision feels personal, and the story doesn't play it safe. It dives deep into revenge, power struggles, and trust in a way that sticks with you. Now let's talk about combat. It mixes real-time action with just enough strategy to keep you on your toes. You're not just mashing buttons here, you've got to read the battlefield, time your moves, and manage your stamina thanks to the can system. Push your character too hard and boom, you overheat, leaving yourself wide open. It's a cool risk-reward setup that keeps every fight feeling intense and different. The sad part? The game never got a remaster. No Switch port, no PC version, nothing. It's stuck in time, which sucks, because Magna Carta 2 could have easily found a second life with today's RPG crowd.
Not done!
Juto, you shouldn't push yourself for me.
There's no RPG quite like Xenosaga. It's not just a game. It's a full-on sci-fi odyssey that dares to ask big questions about life, identity, and the nature of existence. Born from the minds behind Xenogears, the team at Monolith Soft took everything they learned and went wild on the PlayStation 2, creating a trilogy that still feels ahead of its time. This series isn't afraid to get deep. We're talking philosophy, religion, artificial intelligence, stuff most games won't even touch. But it's not just all talk. The characters are layered, the world building is massive, and every twist hits like a truck. Across 3 games, the story keeps evolving, pulling you in with emotional stakes and high-concept ideas that somehow never feel overwhelming. And yeah, the cutscenes are long, like movie-length long. But they're fully voiced, beautifully animated, and actually worth sitting through. It's like playing an anime series where you control how the battles play out. Speaking of which, the combat starts off traditional, but gets more refined with each game, blending turn-based tactics with flashy visuals and some seriously satisfying mechanics. Even with all its ambition, Xenosaga never got the love it deserved. No remakes, no official re-releases, nothing beyond the PlayStation 2. Which sucks, because this trilogy is a gem that's trapped in time. Dark Souls didn't just shake things up, it rewired how we think about video games. Before it blew up, From Software was flying under the radar, mostly loved by a small but loyal fanbase. Then Dark Souls hit, and suddenly the whole industry had to take notes. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't easy, and it didn't care if you rage quit. That was the point. This game threw you into a bleak, crumbling world with zero hand-holding. No quest markers, no pop-up tutorials, just you, your weapon, and a whole lot of pain. But that's what made it brilliant. The world was so tightly connected that exploring felt like solving a puzzle, and every shortcut you unlocked felt like a victory in itself. While everyone else was chasing cinematic cutscenes and open-world bloat, Dark Souls went all in on gameplay depth and earned rewards. It didn't ask you to get good, it forced you to. Every enemy could destroy you if you weren't paying attention. Every boss fight was a lesson in patience, timing, and pure determination. Over time, it became more than a game. It became a blueprint. So many modern titles borrow from Dark Souls, but almost none manage to capture that same magic. Baten Kaitos is the kind of RPG that quietly punches way above its weight. It didn't get the spotlight back when it dropped on the GameCube, but for those who played it, it hit different. This wasn't your average fantasy adventure. It mixed a mind-bending storyline with one of the most creative combat systems ever seen in an RPG. Instead of mashing buttons or spamming magic, every move you made came from a deck of cards. Yeah, the entire battle system was built like a strategy game, forcing you to think several steps ahead. Each card represented attacks, defense, healing, even combo opportunities. It made fights feel like a fast-paced chess match instead of just another grind. But what really pulled people in was the world. This game had some of the most gorgeous backdrops on the GameCube, hand-painted environments that felt like you were walking through a living painting. And the story? Way deeper than it had any right to be. We're talking gods, betrayal, identity crises, all packed into a narrative that slowly unravels in the best way possible. For the longest time, Baten Kaitos was stuck in the past, only playable on old hardware. But recently, the remastered collection hit the Nintendo Switch, giving new life to this cult classic.
いい勝負だったぜ。
Imagine logging into an online game and suddenly realizing it's way more than just a game. That's the vibe of .hack GU. You play as Haseo, a gamer thrown into a virtual world that blurs the line between simulation and reality. What starts as a hunt for answers turns into a deep, emotional journey wrapped in mystery, danger, and some surprisingly heavy themes. This isn't your typical RPG. Even though it looks and feels like an MMO, it's a fully single-player experience, and that's part of what makes it so unique. It dives into stuff like who we really are online, how far artificial intelligence can go, and what happens when digital worlds feel more real than the one outside. Originally released on PlayStation 2, .hack GU came back years later in a remastered collection for PC, PlayStation 4, and Nintendo Switch. That means better visuals, smoother gameplay, and way easier access. And honestly, the combat still holds up. It mixes real-time action with just enough strategy to keep every fight interesting, especially when you start unlocking new forms and abilities. If you've ever enjoyed anime like Sword Art Online, this one's gonna hit all the right notes. If you ever thought the Tales of series had peaked, think again. Tales of Arise came in swinging, revamping the formula, and proving this franchise still has a ton of fight left. After some mixed reactions to entries like Zestiria and Berseria, which I personally really like, this one felt like a full-on evolution. It kept that classic heart, but delivered it with way more style, energy, and polish. What really hits hard right from the start is the world. Donna's basically living under the boot of the Renans, an advanced civilization that treats the planet like a resource farm. You're thrown into that mess as Alphen, a guy with no memory and a mask welded to his face. Then there's Xion, a Renan with a deadly curse that shocks anyone who touches her. Their partnership starts rocky, but grows into something way deeper, giving the story real emotional weight. Now let's talk combat, because this is where Arise really flexes. It's fast, smooth, and insanely satisfying. You're not just button mashing, you're chaining smart combos, dodging at the last second, and pulling off these slick team-up attacks that feel straight out of an anime fight scene. Boost attacks and boost strikes aren't just flashy. They actually force you to think about enemy types and your party setup. Every battle pushes you to stay sharp. And it didn't stop there. The expansion, Beyond the Dawn, kept the momentum going with new content, tougher fights, and more reasons to dive back in. It wasn't just fan service, it actually added depth and replayability. What makes Tales of Arise stand out isn't just how good it looks or how fun it is to play. It's how it respects longtime fans, while also welcoming new players. You don't need to play any of the old games to enjoy it, but if you have, you'll catch all those little nods that show how far this series has come.
Pesky airborne scoundrel!
Sounds like a job for yours truly!
Fantastic! Great! Amazing!
Outlaw and trying to milk it! I was only trying to decide.
If you've ever wanted to dive into a game that feels like a mix between a classic RPG and a Studio Ghibli movie, then Ni no Kuni is exactly what you're looking for. It's pure magic wrapped in an emotional story, stunning art, and a battle system that actually keeps you engaged. You follow Oliver, a kid dealing with loss, who gets pulled into a beautiful, otherworldly adventure. It's got charm, heart, and more depth than you'd expect. The world feels alive with hand-drawn visuals that look like they came straight out of an animated film. And yeah, the battles perfect blend strategy and action, letting you control creatures and mix real-time movement with tactical commands. What really makes Ni no Kuni stand out, though, is how emotionally real it feels. It's not just about saving the world, it's about healing, growing up, and facing the kind of pain we don't usually see in games like this. The remake on PlayStation 3 is what really put it on the map, and now you can play it almost anywhere: PlayStation 4, Xbox, PC, even the Nintendo Switch.
よし頑張ろうはっえいはっ But when I recall, I see.
When Elden Ring dropped, it didn't just shake the gaming world, it straight up rewrote the rules. Built by From Software, yeah, the same folks behind Dark Souls, this beast took everything they'd learned and cranked it to 11 in a massive open world that's as brutal as it is beautiful. But what set it apart? Freedom. Real freedom. No glowing arrows telling you where to go, no walls keeping you on rails. Just your character, the open wilds, and the constant threat of something terrifying hiding just out of sight. You could ride into a peaceful meadow 1 minute, and 2 steps later, be staring down a dragon the size of a building. But it's not just the scale that makes Elden Ring legendary, it's how alive the world feels. Every ruin, every cave, every shadowy forest has a story. You're uncovering an ancient world piece by piece, and it actually rewards you for being curious. And the combat, pure chaos in the best way. You can roll with heavy weapons, fast blades, massive spells, summon spirit allies, or build something totally off the wall. It's your playstyle, your rules, and every fight feels like a test of patience, skill, and guts. Elden Ring didn't just sell millions, it created a movement. Streamers, speedrunners, lore nerds, everyone found their lane in the lands between. And with that 2024 expansion dropping even more bosses, secrets, and jaw-dropping areas, it's clear this universe is just getting started. So now I want to hear from you. Which Bandai Namco RPG blew your mind? Or maybe one you think more people should be talking about? Drop it in the comments, I'm always checking them out. And hey, if you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and help us keep these deep dives going. Thanks a ton for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.